Well, hey everyone, thanks for joining us online today. I'm Jay, and I'm excited to get to worship with you today. We are on week 3 of the series, How Not to Be a Jerkface. Now, this has been a challenging series that may have called you out, and I know it has called me out, but we have heard many stories of transformations happening in people's lives because of it. And if you didn't get a chance to watch the past messages, you can always go and watch it at ransomchurch.com. Go ahead and click the watch button, or you can also find us on YouTube. Before we jump into worship, we think it is really important to do community through this worship experience. So as we're getting started, invite someone to join you online today. You can text some friends the link ransom.online or click the share button that is around this video. We have people tuning in across the country in their own watch parties, worshiping free together, living free together in groups, and serving free by loving their own communities. If you're interested in what it might look like for you to be the church right where you live and you're not in a watch party, while you check in today with the QR code that's on the screen, go ahead and check the box interested in a watch party, and I would love to connect you and get you plugged in. This is also a great way to share any prayer requests or celebrations of how God has been working in your life. Each week our staff prays over these requests, and we would be honored to pray for you. Today also marks the start of a new semester for groups. We believe that we are meant to be in community together, to help each other through the good and bad, and to challenge one another in our walks with Christ. We have a range of groups available, whether it be in person as well as digital, and actually an on-demand group that I will be hosting, and you can find it and other groups by visiting ransomchurch.com/groups, and then you can click on the Help Me Find a Group button, or you can just click the link that's in the chat comments or description of this video. One last thing before we move into worship, we are so thankful to those of you who give to the Ransom. You are making a difference in people's lives, whether it's supporting the ministries that happen here at the Ransom or helping us be able to support our global partners. Your generosity helps our mission to set captives free. Thank you so much for your support. Again, we are so thankful and glad that you have joined us today. Let's worship together and prepare our hearts to receive the message God has for us.
Come, let us bow at his feet. song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you, we live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Oh, we live for you. Sing holy and holy. There is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are, and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to the
Hi, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. Actually, a great day with God. You're worshiping with one of the great communities of faith in the whole world. We're so excited about what the Ransom is doing in the community of Sioux Falls and beyond. You faced the COVID challenges with dignity, compassion, and actually a lot of courage. So keep up the great work. I want to talk to you today just for a second about one of the challenges that churches need to be thinking about as they come out of what's been a real difficult 18 months. It's been tough for the church, right? There's been challenges and some real tough decisions to face. And that has left a mark, if you will, a deep spiritual burden on a number of our lead pastors. And so we're encouraging for churches that just really want to be intentional about thriving for the next decades, right? We're encouraging that those lead pastors take a pause, take a time where they again let God rejuvenate them spiritually, revitalize their sense of calling and passion and energy. Take a pause from the daily grind and again hear from God and do those things that first ignited their call, their vision to plant a church like the Ransom. So that's what we're recommending here at the Ransom for Pastor Phil and Steph. And we think for both of those pastors, it will be great to have had that pause. So you're going to hear more details about that. But I wanted to let you know that we think that's one of the marks of a healthy church that wants to sustain thriving, effective ministry for a long time.
Well, good morning, Ransom Church. My name is Cody Toops, and I get the privilege of serving as your executive pastor. And with me here is one of our elders, Stephanie Wubin. She is with us this morning. And Stephanie, before we really get started, will you just explain to us, what is an elder at the Ransom? What does that mean? Because you don't look 95.
I'm not 95. So thanks for pointing that out. But one thing I think it's important for people to understand is that the Ransom is pastor-led and it's elder-supported. So what that means is the elder board is made up of a group of attenders who have kind of shown a certain level of spiritual maturity, who live out the core values of the Ransom Church, which is really important because it's, you have to reflect what it is you're representing, right? And what the elder board does is we primarily function as an advisory board, but we also are constantly covering the pastors, the church in prayer, the community, and we're always praying that God's will for the Ransom is done today and in the future.
Absolutely. And what I love about our elder team is it also provides accountability beyond the denominational accountability that's already existing. So that's awesome. Mm-hmm. We actually heard from our denominational leader, Wes Smith, Pastor Wes, and he leads essentially the whole northwest quarter of the United States. And he was talking about what is a sabbatical, and he's talking through these things. Why is a sabbatical important for our pastors in your mind?
Well, as Wes alluded to, as he spoke to about in the video, the weight of spiritual leadership can be incredibly great. And Phil and Stephanie, they have been in ministry for over 20 years. They have planted the Ransom Church. They have followed God's call in leading this congregation, and they have never taken a break. So I think it's time. In my own life as a parent, my husband and I, we have 3 children, and I find that I am a better parent when I step away from my kids. I take time for my relationship with the Lord. I take time for my relationship with my spouse, right? And I can go back refreshed and recharged and lead my family and my children better. And I think that's the perfect analogy for why sabbatical is important.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And so we're excited to let you know that the church has created space. The Ransom has created space for Pastors Phil and Pastor Stephanie to take a 6-week sabbatical. And that's going to be starting in just a little over a week. It's going to be starting on September 20th, and it will run through October 31st. And I'm so thankful that our church values our pastors. And I'll just add, our denomination says that this should happen every 7 years. So leading for 20 years, that means that we should be thinking about next year being the 3rd sabbatical for this family. But they have sacrificed and labored for the church And so I'm just excited to thank you to the elder team for seeing the value in the midst of that.
So, Cody, this might seem like sudden to some people. They might question if anything is wrong.
Yeah, great. The short answer is no, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. There hasn't been a moral failure. There's nothing wrong with leadership. There isn't a health issue. It's back to what we were talking about. It's the ministry grind of 7 years compiled with added in that is planting a church and leading this crazy staff that you all know, and you're all crazy as well, leading you also. It's just a time of rest and renewal for our pastors.
Okay, so then who will be covering things in their absence?
Yeah, that crazy staff that I talked about, they're amazing. They're going to be available and able to cover whatever it is that's needed. And so if you have a need, if there's anything you need, you can reach us at office@ransom.church, or you can call the office number, which is 605-339-3733. And you'll be able to get connected with whoever would need to serve that need. And in addition to, we have an amazing teaching team. It's not always just one person up here. The teaching team will pick up the load of the sermons over these 6 weeks.
But what if I need to talk to Phil or Steph specifically during this time?
Yeah, don't. I love you all. Don't. Please don't reach out on Facebook or text or whatever means, because we really want Phil and Stephanie as pastors to unplug. And we want them to spend time with the Lord as children, not as Pastor Phil and Pastor Stephanie. And so even if it's well-intentioned and it's something that's encouraging, we all know that when you receive a message from somewhere, it's hard to take your mind off that thing. And so the best thing to do would be to not reach out to them. But we as a staff, I as Pastor Cody am personally here to walk through anything you have. And again, you can reach out to us at the office and we'll be able to make sure that whatever it is that you have is taken care of. So kind of to wrap up, Stephanie, what's the best way we as a congregation and we as people who care about our pastors serve them during this time?
Oh, that's a really important question. First, I think it's important that we're just reminded that this church is not the pastor, right? This church belongs to Christ. The Ransom is the bride of Christ, and he loves this place more than any pastor ever could. So to support Phil and Steph in this time, the number one thing you can do is lean in and engage. Like, this is the time to show up. It's the time to attend and serve and keep tithing, because everybody here is a part of our mission of setting captives free, and we can't do it if the whole body isn't working. And then finally, pray for them, pray over them. Build praying for Phil and Stephanie into your daily pray routine. Pray that they are recharged and renewed in the next 6 weeks. Pray that Jesus can meet them exactly where they're at, and he can take them to exactly where it is he needs them to go now and in the years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what we want to do as a congregation, whether you're watching online, whether you are watching from one of our campuses or you're here at the campus live, I'm going to ask Pastor Phil and Pastor Stephanie to come up, and we just want to pray over them. And so we're going to go ahead and pray. And so if you want to reach your hands out, if you want to just take a posture of prayer in your seat, we're going to do that. And Stephanie's going to lead us as the elder, and I will close. And guys, I just want to say thank you for what you've done for this church, the sacrifice and laboring that most people don't know. They don't need to know, but that they don't know. Thank you for that. It has made a kingdom difference in setting captives free, and we just love you guys and are excited for you. So,
Lord, I just thank you. I thank you for this couple. I thank you for their obedience to you in their ministry. And I'm so excited for them, Lord, just to get to sit with you in the next 6 weeks. And I just pray that in this time, that they can close off the busyness of everyday life. They can focus on their relationships with you, that they can hear you speak clearly exactly what it is you want to say to them, and that this will be a time of recharge and renewal for them as individuals, as a couple, and for the whole TAG family, Lord.
yes, Lord, I agree with that, Lord, and I just pray specifically for 2 things. First, for rest. Lord, would you give them rest and just renewal that goes beyond anything that just sleeping in our bed can do, but the rest that comes from sitting in your presence in an extended time, just focusing on you. God, I pray for that. And the second is I pray for ears of children. Lord, would they just hear from you as your children, not as pastors, not as leaders of a church, not as anything else. And Lord, would you speak just clearly to them? Would you affirm things? Would you help them to understand who you are on a deeper level in the midst of this? And so, God, we love you, and we lift up our pastors to you. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for that time of prayer. Thank you for being the kind of church that recognizes the needs of its pastors. Thanks to our elder team and to our staff and even to my district superintendent for recognizing that this was a season where Stephanie and I just needed to breathe spiritually, just needed to take a deep breath and a break. And more than anything, thanks to all of you for being gracious enough to let us take that break and have a time where for just a little bit, we're not pastors, we're just Jesus kids. And we don't have to run the church, we just get to crawl up in his lap and be his son and be his daughter. And so we are so grateful for that. And that's all I can say about that. We're just so grateful for your graciousness. So we're going to dive in today to week 3 of How Not to Be a Jerk Face. The goal, the heart for this entire series as a church is to own the reputation that we have as a whole in culture, to own our part unintentionally in validating that reputation. And so week 1, we talked about how we just need to own our reputation. We need to own that the reputation of the church is not great. For the most part, the world sees us as jerk faces, and there's reasons for that. Last week, Pastor Will did an amazing job talking about casting judgment and how we can learn to stand on our convictions without being judgmental. Those two don't have to go together. We can stand on our convictions without casting judgment. But today I want to turn the corner. I want to give us some practical advice. What do we do now? Okay, how do we actively play a part in changing the narrative about the church, about God's people? And let me set up where we're going to go today with a question. What is the most common emotion in our world today? I want you to think about that. If you were to pick one word, one emotion from the list of all the emotions out there to describe the disposition of most people in the world, to describe most of what you see on the nightly news, most of what you see on social media, what would you say is the most common emotion? Go ahead, tell your neighbor what you think. Okay, now here's a question. How many of you said anger? I mean, this is just my opinion. It's not based on hard facts. It's not based on studies. But as I observe the world around me, it seems more angry than ever. Back in 2016, NBC teamed up with Esquire magazine to do a survey on the perceived anger in America. And they surveyed 3,000 Americans to try to determine who is angriest, what is making them so angry, and most importantly, who's to blame for all the anger. And what the study revealed was that half of all Americans, 50% of all Americans, said they were angrier now than they were the year before. Now keep in mind that was in 2016, and that was a pretty good year. So imagine those same people after 2020. Yikes, right? Perhaps the most interesting thing was their reasoning for being so angry. Most said, I'm angrier now than I was a year ago, and the reason for my anger is it stemmed in all cases from the perception that their life wasn't working out the way they thought it would or should, and that they did not see that changing anytime soon. So here's my takeaway from that article. Our anger is most often linked to self-preservation. This could be why people feel so justified in their anger. It could be why we feel so justified in our actions in response to our anger, because we have tied our personal worth to everything. So I need you to show me respect. I need you to agree with me. I need you to accept me as I am. I need you to see things the way I see it. And when you don't, I feel that as a personal attack. Okay? You're not disagreeing with me, you're judging me. You hate me. And that makes me angry. And so we live, because of that, in an angry world. As we look around, as we watch the news, as we scroll through social media, everywhere we look, we see more and more anger. Even in our entertainment. I mean, we live in a world right now where axe throwing and smash rooms are a marketable business enterprise because we just got to break some stuff, right? Because we're so angry, we got to just vent all that frustration. So really, part of the reason Christians are seen as jerk faces is because we live in a world where disagreement is seen as hate, and we have to choose to stand on our biblical convictions. That part's out of our control completely. We claim to define there's a right and wrong way of thinking, and people are absolutely angry about it. But I don't think that lets us off the hook as Christians either. I think because anger is often linked to self-preservation, and because now more than ever the church feels under